clap your hands. All right now. That's it, the roof. I want everybody to clap. There's somebody not clapping, I can see.
The first two Sabbath albums were great fun because it was all new. It was all new, and we all had such a laugh, man.
It's fun with it. I mean, it's just like you just got and you have fun every night. These are just as mental as ever on stage.
Some good time. I think all the times, I mean, if you look back, I think every time you look back, you'll see, at the time, they think, oh, you're right. But when you look back, a few years ago, you think, oh, that was great.
Special was that he didn't have everybody else's chops, that he just played with his own mind. With chord playing, you know, just that hugeness of it all, it just took you away and lifted you and gave you a basis from which to do almost anything.
Hughes and Butler are great musicians. Certainly, I found, particularly now, after playing with a lot of different musicians, that Hughes and Butler are quite unique in their style of playing. That old style of what they played made Black Sabbath.
Probably said at least 3 times I'll never ever play with Ozzy again in my life. It's off and on between me and him. You know, we have massive fights and don't speak to each other for 2 years.
At the beginning, we all had a purpose, but as it went along, that inevitable thing stepped in called ego.
All the Ozzy lovers, you know, when I joined that band, well, they became Dio haters. You know, I mean, that's just the way it became.
The thing that made Sabbath so great was this confluence of these different kind of personalities. In Ozzy, you had the real working class kid.
When I first heard You Really Got Me by the Kings, what it did was it gave me this feeling like I knew what I wanted. When I played You Really Got Me and that riff happened, all my hairs on the back of my neck stood on it and all my hairs on my arms. And I thought, that is great. That's what I got to do.
Ozzy Osbourne is a completely off-the-wall character, so he brings that to his singing.
We obviously had our different ways, you know. But we always have ever since school, and I can still beat him up. No, I like it. He's a character of his own, and he'll never change.
Tony was the musician of the band. Tony, when he was very young, was a very, very gifted player. He was a great jazz player.
First guitar was one of those, well, a cheap one. Being left-handed was really difficult as well for me to get a guitar, so I bought one from one of those K clubs or something, the original guitar. And I really enjoyed playing it.
Tony Iommi used to go to school with the same school as me, although he was in a year higher than me. I remember him at some times used to bring his guitar to school and play music, and the kid teachers would get pissed off with him and whatnot, you know.
I went for one guitar lesson, and that was it. I couldn't stand it anymore because I felt I was playing better than what they were showing me at the time. They were trying to show me finger exercise, which I already sort of new, and I just didn't have an interest of being shown. I had to I felt better in learning myself at the time. Although now I wish I'd probably got more involved with training, learning the proper way. But then again, I may not have adopted my own style by doing that. I don't know.
Individually, each had a very strong personality, though maybe there were more dominant personalities within the lineup. It was definitely Tony Iommi's band.
But most of the composing was done by Geezer and myself. Geezer wrote all the lyrics, or at least 90% of them, and I had done the music. Ozzy would come up with more the vocal melody.
Ozzy and myself used to have a band, and me used to have this guitarist, drummer, and I used to play rhythm guitar, and Ozzy was on vocals. Me and Ozzy left, and I just didn't. Rhythm guitars just sort of nobody wanted them anymore. So I took, and I couldn't afford a bass at the time, so I took 2 strings off my guitar. I used to play bass on me, just this bloody little horrible electric guitar I had. In fact, that's when we got together as like the Sabbath lineup. I was still using my guitar strung down.
Your skin starts turning green.
Yeah, I had an accident many years ago. As you can see here, where we want it there, that finger and that finger, where I used to do sheet metal work. What happened one day, the day I was leaving, funny enough, from the job to turn professional, the old turn professional one, and I was doing pressing this piece of metal that I used to have to weld afterwards, and the press just came straight down on me, and of course, as you pull it back, I pulled the ends of the fingers off. And at the time, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I'd done. So I thought that was it. I was never play again. And what happened was a friend of mine brought me a record. It was the first time I was introduced to Django Reinhardt, who had also got, damaged 2 fingers and played with 2 fingers. And he got me back into playing, and I suppose it was 6 or 7 months later. And I started trying to play with these 2 fingers, like that. So these were bandaged up, and I was playing with these 2, which got me to use the little finger as opposed to that finger. And then, of course, I went to try and find to the hospital, try and find some kind of tip made so that I could put on, because, of course, if I play here, the string would just rip the skin off, because the bone's right underneath. And then they said, there's nothing can be done, you'll have to pack up playing and whatever. So I went back home, and I got a squeezy bottle and melted it down, made it into a ball, got a hot soldering iron and made a sort of hole in it, and got it down to fit my finger. So I got this big ball on the end of my finger. Then I sat there all night, filing it down with some sandpaper to make a shape of a thimble. Then I put some leather on it, because it wouldn't grip otherwise. It was plastic, it'd just slip off the string. I put some leather on, which made something like this. This is the plastic, and then leather on it. And I used that, and off I went. I mean, it's really weird to play with, of course, at first, but you get used to it. And there's certain things I probably wouldn't be able to do that most people could do. But there's other things I've come up with a different sort of style of playing, and probably more unorthodox way, but I've got away with it.
Tony was the musical intellect of the band. Those were his riffs, his guitar parts, him coming up with those different kinds of chord changes. And again, because Tony had such a varied background, he understood jazz, he could play country, he had the rock thing down.
Originally, we had me singing, Tony playing guitar, Bill playing drums, Geezer playing bass, We had a guy called Jimmy Phillips playing bottleneck guitar, and a guy called Clark, I think, playing sax. We were a 6-piece. Originally, we went out, we just think of any name, you know, for the night, you know. But then the saxophone player and the bottleneck guitar player went, and then we went out as Earth. And then we started writing. And Tony was the guy who said, why don't we start writing scary music? And I said, oh, whatever, you know. So we wrote the song Black Sabbath, we wrote NIB, we wrote The Wizard, we wrote Beyond the Wall of Sleep, and all that first album. And we recorded our first album in 12 hours on the way to the ferry to go to do a residency at the Star Club in Hamburg.
How we'd do it was we'd jam about with a riff, come up with I'd come up with a riff, and Ozzy'd sort of sing a type of a melody to it, and then Hughes would write the words.
It was a really crappy studio, like 2 4-track machines. We got, and we all thought that's what everybody does to make a record. And I was saying, well, how do the Beatles sound so great if all you got to do is set your gear up, play, and get in the van? Yet their albums sound so wonderful, you know. I didn't realise that all this stuff's added to it.
Definitely very dark and doomy. If you read the lyrics, there's a very particular kind of atmosphere that they conjure up, which goes really well with the riffs and the music and the overall kind of, I don't know, lost in a cemetery and midnight kind of vibe.
So we just thought that tried to put music over in a different angle. And the music sounded, you know, it's sort of like this evil sound, you know, this heavy, doomy sound. You know.
There wasn't a whole lot of musicality going on in Sabbath. Typically, if Tony was playing a riff, Geezer Butler, the bass player, was sort of doubling that riff. There was no keyboards, it was just a 3-piece with a singer. So when we talk about heavy metal, certainly they were one of the first bands to earn the moniker of a metal band.
Whatever would be something that people would say, well, is unique to me, would probably be the sound and maybe just the way I approach it, but how it is, I don't know. To explain yourself is quite difficult. I do vibrato on chords, which people never use. Maybe they do now, but I do sort of play a chord with, and I'll put vibrato on it, which would make it, you know, more full. And the reason for making it full was being as a 3-piece band, and I just wanted to make it as heavy as I could.
Quite an art to do something that's simple but very, very powerful, and Tony Iommi's riffs definitely achieved that. But the whole thing with Sabbath, it's the sum of the parts. Ozzy's particular way of singing, Geezer's bass lines, and also the level of the bass in the mix. The bass is a very important part of the Sabbath sound, and it makes it really thick and heavy.
Usually I'll go into a studio and the engineer or the producer hasn't got a clue how to get the sound that I want, because I always think the bass should be nice and round and deep and smooth and everything else. And when I tell them I want it distorted with like a really growly bottom end and everything, no, you can't do bass like that. So it's always been a battle.
I would say he's more towards the kind of bass playing that I like, which is where you're trying to express your personality and not just follow what the guitar's doing or what the drums are doing, though you take from both. Sometimes, I mean, a lot of the time the bass will follow the guitar riff because that's what makes it so heavy and gives it its power.
You do the bass riff and the guitarist just plays to your bass riff.
Right, so Black Sabbath, this song was a bass lick. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
and
sounds like.
And that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to win medals for how fast how many notes I could play in 1 millisecond or anything. It was I just wanted to play riffs on bass and not stray off the main thing.
Black Sabbath again was done by just me coming up with a riff and playing it sort of loud as well.
It's this very simple song in G minor actually. It's this great kind of octave riff, the low G 3rd fret 6th string, 5 fret 4th string, and then it's called the flatted 5th, which they've also called like the devil's interval. So whenever you hear in a movie and the tension's building, it's that dong, bong, bong.
I took the album home my folks have got one of these old great big radiograms. I says, Mum, I made a record. I was just so happy that I'd made a record, you know. So I hadn't heard all the bells and all this stuff that had been added on. So I put the record on, and it starts with this thunder and the bells and the rain. I'm thinking I've given me the wrong record, you know. And then the music starts. And my folks are ready to do a knees up beer drinking song, you know. And my father turned around to me and says, Son, I'm going to ask you a question, and you've got to be honest to me. I says, yeah. He says, are you sure you're just drinking alcohol? I says, yeah. Why? What's the matter? He said, this is very odd music.
What is this that stands before me? Feather in black, with points at me.
It's all kind of a sound picture. And then towards the end, you've got a fast section where Ozzy's sort of losing his mind.
We thought it needed to change by that time, of an up-tempo thing. all the solos for all the tracks are none of them are worked out. They're all off-the-cuff ones. And in fact, if I do them in the studio, I'll do umpteen different ones. I never really play them the same. And on stage, there's always something slightly different. I'm not the sort of guitar player that can sit down and play everything exactly note for note all the time. It has to be sort of, I like to do it off the cuff.
I'm in a club one night and the manager, Jim Simpson, comes up to me and then he goes, "Your album's just gone in the British chart at number 14. I says, yeah, pull the other one, you know. And he says, no, he stayed in the British charts in the top 10 for 2 years.
In Sabbath, most of the lyrics were yours, or all the lyrics
The original,
were yours?
yeah, not about 95%.
Really? So Ozzy really had not much to do with the actual songwriting?
He came up with the vocal lines, the melody
Melodies
lines, and he'd come up with, like for instance, Iron Man. He came up with the line Iron Man, so I wrote the lyrics around that subject.
I see.
He used to be good at coming up with like just one line that would give you the inspiration to write the rest of the song.
You know, that band was what Geezer wrote, and what Tony wrote, and what Ozzy claimed he wrote. You know, but Ozzy's performance and the whole band's performance was what made them happen when they were doing Iron Man and Black Sabbath and, you know, those great songs.
Sabbath certainly is identified with Paranoid, with Iron Man, but really with Sabbath, because I never really had the big singles, they were really more of an album band. I mean, their songs on the records kind of acted as a whole. So I think of Sabbath as kind of more of an album track band as opposed to a singles band. But certainly Paranoid was a great song.
Paranoid again wasn't really going to be as a single. We wasn't intending on doing a single. We were in the studio to write an album, the Paranoid album, which was going to be originally called War Pigs, but that's why the cover was with a chap with a sword and a shield. But they banned it from being called War Pigs, so we called it Paranoid, which had nothing to do with the cover at all. But anyway, we went in to record the album, and in the lunch break, I stayed. I didn't go out to eat with the others. I just stayed at the studio. I just came up with this riff, this Paranoid. And when everybody came back, I said, well, let's just put this down. So we put it down, and that was it. It wasn't intended as a single or anything. It was just another one for the album.
It's really funny that Paranoid and All Right Now are both songs that were kind of knocked off at the end of a session just to fill up some time, and they've become like the most famous songs for Free and Black Sabbath.
You never sort of planned it to be, it just happened. It just sort of one of those things that just sort of evolved and happened, you know. We didn't plan it to, we didn't expect it to be as popular as it did, as it got like.
It's real fun to play. When I've played it with Black Sabbath, it's really enjoyable. And also you know that the crowd is going to go nuts when you play Paranoid. So you kind of hold it in reserve until, I don't know, the first encore or something, because they're not going to go until they hear you play Paranoid.
We're going to finish up now with a number entitled Paranoid. I'd just like to say we love you all.
Paranoid came out, and that was even not a bit. I mean, and every English band's dream was to come to the US. You know, we came to America, and we were instantly a success. And I mean, it was just. I'm looking back, it was like one incredible adventure. My life has been one incredible adventure, from being one level in life going back, to then all of a sudden having a car, having a flying first class, doing all this exciting stuff. And I mean, it was just like a dream come true. Well, it was a dream come true, you know.
I need someone to show me the things I did. I can't find. I can see the things that make true happiness. I must be blind.
They just got huge. I mean, again, in America, we didn't have that kind of a thing. We had the Motown thing, we had the Beach Boys, we had sort of the West Coast sound, you know, that was kind of bred in San Francisco, but we had never heard anything like this. We didn't have that kind of songwriting, that kind of guitar playing.
And I will die and you will laugh and I will cry. Happiness I cannot feel and love to me is so unreal.
Favourite guitars for me is this one. This is the one I always use on stage now. As you can see, it's nice and tidy and clean. No marks at all on it. And this is one I've used for many years. The original one I had, which I've still got at home, which I don't bring out much now, is a Gibson SG red, cherry red one. But this one is one I do use now. And this one here, again, is the first one I had made by John Birch. This is one of the earlier first ones he ever made. That's that one. And I got involved with John Birch many years ago when I tried to find somebody to make me, because of the problem with my fingers and stuff, I had to try and create something that I could work with. So I wanted a guitar which was easy, strings, I could bend the strings easy, which again I went into using banjo strings for first and made my own sets up because you couldn't buy light gauge strings in them days. And I went to approach different companies to make me light gauge strings. They said, "Oh, it can't be done, it's impossible. It wouldn't be harmonically right." So I said, "It can be done. I've done it. I've dropped all the strings down and made sets up from banjo strings and whatnot. And it worked for me, and I could bend them, and it was good. Of course, nowadays, everybody's got light gauge strings, but in them days, you couldn't get them. So I went to John Birch to make me a guitar that would be comfortable for me to play too. And I wanted a 24 fret guitar. Black Sabbath and Paranoid were quite quicker recorded. Black Sabbath was done in 2 days, and Paranoid was five days to a week. It took us to do that, finish it. But Massive Reality was quite a different thing. That took a lot longer. That's when we started getting into long time for us. It was going into weeks, and we thought, oh God, this is taking a bit long. We tried. There was one particular track that Bill couldn't get right. I think it was Under the Sun or something it was called. And we went to about 3 or 4 different studios because couldn't get the vibe in them days. I don't know how we got to that, but...
Because everybody has their own idea of what a mix should be or what a sound should be. When you get like 4 people supposedly producing an album, it's always, you have to take so long.
And all of a sudden it becomes deadly serious and people start telling you what you should and shouldn't be doing and what... You enjoy those first few years of them because, you never recapture them again. I've been very lucky.
Ozzy, there was just something sympathetic about him, even though he was singing about these very dark subjects and kind of these elements of foreboding. What made it real is that he didn't go up there kind of shrouded all in black and had this thing. That would have been over the top crazy. I mean, we would see that in other groups. Ozzy was really kind of a schoolboy singing about these things, and we sensed there was something real about him. We could kind of connect with Ozzy.
I don't really know. All I go at distance days, I go out and I like to feel that people. I like to try and put over it. I'm trying to have an honest gig, and making people. I like people to get loose. I like to see people enjoy themselves. I don't like to see people get hurt. I like people to. It turns me on, And the more they go, the more I feel. And it builds and builds, It just carries on, going and going.
The first festival that I've ever been to, where everything seems to be so beautiful and peaceful. There's no hassles, the organisation is absolutely incredible, It's just beautiful. It's the way they all should be. We're just going to go on and play our music, man, we don't go on and blow the stage up or do anything like that. We just go on and play our music, man, because that's all it's about,
They played the California Jam, which is a very famous outdoor show held at the Ontario Speedway outside of Los Angeles, and the show was sort of a triple headline with Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, and ELP. And I remember that they were flown in via helicopter. In fact, everybody had to be flown in because I think there was like 300,000 or 400,000 people there.
Like in the old days in the 70s, you'd get bands like the Eagles, Yes, and Sabbath doing the same gig, Or you get we opened up for James Taylor one time, But you see that's the whole thing in the old. Nowadays it's like these metal packages, these rap packages, these alternative packages.
They were good for the time. I mean, listening to them now, obviously, it's sort of cringe because the sound and the whole recording world has changed and the way things can be done now. And I think any past product you listen to, you always go, oh dear, we could have done this and we could have done that. But for the time, no, I think it was all right. And Volume 4, the same. That was good for us at the time we'd done Volume 4, because it was the first time I think we'd actually recorded in America. And we went over to LA, and it was great. It was great times. It was a whole new thing to be recording in sort of record plant, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. It was good.
I got the rap of being stoned and drunk all the time. You know, I wasn't the only one, man. I mean, we were all in a bad way, man.
I was able to get backstage. I met the band, and I was struck by the fact that each guy had a vial of cocaine. Typically, we know the little vials as sort of these little tiny ones with sort of the ochre-colored tops. Well, these were the multi-purpose, gargantuan, triple X large sizes.
To get 4 guys to come up with the same result at the end of the day was near on impossible, because not saying I was better than them, not saying they were better than me, but the fact is that success does change you. I mean, when you're hungry, you all have one goal to have, and that is to get successful. Now, when you get successful, it affects various people. I mean, it affected me. I didn't give a shit. I was full of cocaine and all the rest of the crap that I used to do, you know? So, I mean, that stuff makes you talk total horse crap, you know? The amount of, there shouldn't be a problem in the world, because I think we solved them all in a bathroom of a hotel with a bag of that white powder, you know?
I was in my room, and there's a knock on the door, and Ozzy and Tony are at the door. And they kind of come in, and they were pretty buzzed, they were pretty drunk, and they come in, they take the television set. Television sets in hotel rooms are kind of bolted to a wall or bolted onto some kind of foundation. They rip it off the foundations, they take it, and they just throw it out in the hallway. And I'm thinking to myself, they're doing this in my room, and I'm gonna have to check out tomorrow with an $8,000 room bill. Honestly, at that point in time, I said to myself, you know what? I don't care. If I'm gonna get in trouble, it's gonna be having my room trashed by Black Sabbath.
Don't you think I know what I'm doing? Don't tell me what I'm doing is wrong. You're the one that treated a loser. You better be loving long. Right.
I mean, you said you really don't care about the money.
I do and I don't, because like I never go out and think about the bedroom. Like, all I want to go out and think is the kids there and enjoying what I'm playing to them. I mean, I don't go on stage thinking I learned $5, $10 and count them bread as it's going along. I don't want to know, man. It's not, I'm not in it for that. I'm in it just to turn people on, you know. And I'll do it as best way I can. You know? I mean, like, for years I've blown around for nothing, you know. I got screwed out of a lot of money from time to time. In previous other ventures I'd done before the band. I'd always been ripped off by people in the past. And I think, well, if that's where it's at, man, I don't want to know it. All I want to do is be able to have a comfortable life, feed my kids, feed my wife, and put a roof over their heads, and make sure my kids have a good upbringing.
again, we went over to LA. We'd done the same procedure we did with Volume 4, but it didn't work on Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. We went over, rented a house for 6 months and went over there, and same house and everything. It just didn't work. We couldn't get didn't get the same atmosphere, and we couldn't write.
I just don't know. I haven't got the clue. Well, we just got stoned all the time. You know, couldn't get any. Stomach sort of got out of it like all the time. We couldn't think because we'd got Volume 4 together, you know, like, and we thought that being away from home made us work more and get into it more. But it was just like a party from time to time. It's like a holiday now. We all went out there and just crazy all the time.
So we ended up coming back to England and went to Clearwell Castle in Wales and wrote Sabbath Bloody Sabbath there. Sabbath Bloody Sabbath was, again, I thought that was the best album to date then. It was a lot more involved, and we'd done stuff, we went a bit more adventurous by using sort of perhaps more acoustic sort of things, and a bit more musical, I thought, than the other albums up to that date.
Before, I just didn't have a clue how to get the bass down, just didn't look at the road you're doing and just go on and play. And I think with me, it's like everybody says that no matter what I'm using, what bass or equipment, I always get that sound anyway. It's just the same as Tony always gets his sound. And
exactly.
You find that with a lot of people, whatever the sound is, no matter what guitar or amp they're using, they get that sound.
Technical Extra was a time when we brought a keyboard player in instead of Geezer or myself playing keyboards as we did on some of the past stuff. Apart from Wakeman played on Sabbath Bloody Sabbath track. We brought a keyboard player and we were getting to use involved keyboards a bit more, and we thought, well, we don't want to keep playing and we're not good enough to keep playing these sort of things. So we brought a keyboard player in when we wrote Technical Ecstasy. And I must admit, I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed that album, although I think I was a bit too self-indulgent for me. I think I got a bit too over the top with it, because I got more into the production side then, and I was fiddling about. And, but yeah, I think it was probably slightly apart from some of the other albums we've done.
I think with the new album that Sabbath is going in a really different direction. I think it's...
No, I think what do you mean in what way?
I mean, yeah. I think
it's going in a better direction.
Yeah.
And it's definitely going into a better direction. You never sort of when you start to record and write an album, you never sort of sit down and say, well, we'll put it in this way, or we just sort of sit down and sort of it just happens. It's just born, you know. You never know what it's going to turn out like. It's just something that's born and it's there, you know. Right. I think this last album is the best one we've ever done, you know. If this is anything to go by, I can't wait to the next album or the next but one or the next but one, you know.
Right.
Because it's just incredible. I can't believe it. This last album, man.
It's almost not distinguishable as a Black Sabbath album, but yet it is.
Well, even on their last records, Never Say Die and Technical Ecstasy, their last records. There were some really great moments on there. They never lost what they did.
What happened was I was getting musically frustrated because, there's one of the songs that I'm just a backstreet kid, one that we wrote. And there's a line that I wrote on there, it says, rock and roll is paying my lawyer's bills, or something like that. But we were working on the road to pay lawyers' fees to keep the lawsuit going against the manager who was ripping us off. And I just said, hey man, well, I didn't get involved in this to become a damn lawyer. I don't know the first I don't understand the business side of it. I don't want to. No, he said, now it seems my music's paying off my tax demands. That's the line. And we'd never paid tax, so we had to pay tax and all this and whatever. I said to the band one day, I said, I want to do a solo album. And they said, well, Tony said to me, well, we're a band. I said, yeah, but I'd like to do something on my own, It
was at the time of recording the Evening, which wasn't called Evening at that time, before that. And it just wasn't working, things just wasn't happening. We ended up rehearsing for 11 months and nothing was coming up.
We would write a song, book a studio and try and finish the album in a studio, which is just total crap to me, I don't like being in a studio.
So we'd come up with plenty of riffs and stuff, but there was no enthusiasm. So it just had to come to an end, and we had to have a talk, so it's not going to happen.
I wanted to do something aside from Sabbath. Not saying that I was any better than Sabbath. I just had this thing that I had to vent my thing and do something what I wanted to do, So I said to Tony, and he says, well, if you've got any ideas, you should put them to the band, because we're a band, It'd be great if I come up with something and didn't give it to you guys. And then I said, oh, fair enough, then okay. What do you think about this? Don't like it. What do you think about this? Don't like it. What do you think about this? Don't like it. What do you think about this? And so on. No, they didn't like anything. So here am I. I'm still frustrated. I don't like what I've done. They said, tell me that if I've got any ideas, you should give to the band. I've given them to the band. They don't like it, so I'm still in the same hole. But now I'm more frustrated because I've got this desire to do a solo album. And so I left. I just thought, this is crap,
I think at that time he was going through a lot of problems himself, and we needed to sort of get away from each other, and we needed to do our own thing, I think. Or he certainly needed to do his own thing, which he did, and quite successful with it.
You couldn't get a complete replacement for Ozzy because Ozzy is so unique, and I think the rest of the guys in the band wanted somebody who was a more, let's say, outrageously competent singer, had a bigger range and more power or something like that. And certainly Ronnie Dio is one of the most powerful and very gifted rock singers that there is.
We did Heaven and Hell, and everybody went, whoa, what's this? And we were massive, and that was huge. Really huge. Well, because it started it all over again, it began a heavy metal trend again.
It worked great. I mean, straight away it was like life into the band again by just bringing somebody new in, and the sparkle was there again, and it was really exciting. Everybody was like really ready to go again by hearing somebody put something into it.
When you're good at what you do, there's always someone out there who wants to do it with you. Mm-hmm. So I was always, fortunate, and at least I'd made my bones in Rainbow as a singer. So when it came time for Tony to be interested in me as a singer in Sabbath, that he had something really concrete to listen to and go, yeah. And so, I'd already made my mark. It was like they knew I could sing, they knew I could write. I just had great opportunity there and took a hold of it.
We had riffs, but no sort of vocal stuff. Ozzy wasn't sort of singing. He was going through that much depression. He just didn't want to sing. So by having all these riffs and so much for so long, to have somebody come in and sing to them was great for us and really refreshing. Some of the things we had already written before Ronnie came. So his involvement was good, really, because he came up with a few other ideas to add to the songs.
Ronnie is such an identifiable singer that it's impossible for us, after hearing only Ozzy's voice with Black Sabbath, as thinking of this as Black Sabbath with Dio. It's Dio and coincidentally the remaining 3 members of Black Sabbath.
All the Ozzy lovers, when I joined that band, well, they became Dio haters. That's just the way it became.
Sabbath, in my opinion, from 1968 till after I left with the 2 Dio albums involved, it was one of the greatest bands I ever worked with.
Gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. In the fields of bodies burning, as the war machine keeps turning. Evil minds that plot destruction. Construction. Say, where are you go? To the war peace people know. Oh, Lord, yeah.
I went back to tapes of old Sabbath stuff from 1969 and the 70s.
Wow.
Which I've got boxes and boxes and boxes, rips and I've never used.
Songs are sort of classics in their own right. Everybody knows them.
I mean, when I left Black Sabbath, I said, that's it. I'm not doing any more Black Sabbath stuff. I'm going to do all my own stuff. But then the kids said to me, hey man, we want to hear Paranoid, we want to hear this, we want to hear that, we want to hear... and then I stopped and thought about it, and I thought, well, you did sing on it, you did co-write it, and so it is a part of you. You're not exactly covering songs.